Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the Everton Daily Live, joined by Dave Feely in the studio. We are looking ahead to what looks like a very difficult run of fixtures for Everton Football Club, obviously. We've already lost at United. We beat Wolves. The derby was postponed. But Dave, we're going into 3 games now where on paper it wouldn't be a massive shock if Everton got no points, and that would mean that after 17 games we've won 3, which is absolutely, in my opinion, unacceptable at this stage of the season.
I agree, it is unacceptable. I heard Toffee's piece. It is unacceptable, to be honest. It's not surprising as well to that. I mean, from when you saw the fixtures pre-season, it's grim. The whole thing has been grim. The last 3 years with the odd little month in between it, 3 or 4 weeks in between respite, but that aside, it's been grim. But this December was particularly grim. It was like, you know...
They've done this before to us, though. It seems to be every December now.
Okay.
They give us like 5 at the big 6 every year.
That is true. But then if you're in charge... and I'm not, and you're not, unfortunately, but if you're in charge, you know this in August, so you say, those games in August, September, October, November, they take on a greater importance, they take on a more, we've got to get something here. So then, it's not even about turning up, that's a given, that's your job of work, but I'm talking about game management, and having that in your head at all times, big thinking.
Yeah.
You know that stuff?
Yeah.
Like the bigger picture, it's absent. So now, because we did not do that, or there was an absence of that previously, we now find ourselves here. We're going to Arsenal, notorious place where we get nothing at all. So, and they're a good side, far better than us. And then Chelsea at home, Cole Palmer is ridiculous. Although actually against Chelsea at home, it's probably one of the bigger sides who we have had fortune against in recent times. Nevertheless, he is head and shoulders probably at the moment the best player in the Premier League. He destroyed us in that away game last time.
Yeah.
Kelly made me stay till the last minute, and it was absolutely painful. It was gruesome, honestly. He's very good. Then Man City, even in their worst moment, which they look like they're in at the moment, they're still 15 times better than us. The subs they bring on, we'd have to be 2 or 3-0 up to be able to manage that game and still get out of it with like a 1-goal victory, probably. I'm trying to be realistic.
Yeah,
I'm not trying to be down on our team. So then, what that does then, it throws everything. The onus then is 100% on Nottingham Forest at home. Well, Nottingham Forest just went to Man United and won when we got our pants pulled down only 10 days ago. Yeah. So, yeah, on the greater scheme of things, right now, it's not fantastic, no.
We'll come back to sort of the footy, but we were talking off camera before we went live about the bigger problems with Everton that have been going on. Yeah. In the next sort of 7 or 8 days, Everton expect the takeover to be complete by the Friedkin group, and you would hope then that would then be, well, it would begin a new era. How it goes is another thing, but it begins a new era, and I think what I expect them to do is something Farhad Moshiri didn't do, which was get their own people in place immediately. There's been, Matt Slater, I think, reported it the other day, but a few other journals have done it. It's that apparently they've already picked the CEO.
Good.
They've picked the chair.
Good.
At the first initial appointments. Obviously, Everton have been linked with Dan Ashworth, who left Manchester United yesterday because Kevin Thelwell's contract's up in the summer. No one knows if he's going to stay or not. Even if he does, there's a school of thought that says Ashworth could come in anyway and be sort of above him because obviously they've got Roma as well. Yeah. So you could do that kind of thing. It's critical now, isn't it, that Everton put a plan in place that not only improves the business side of it, but that we have that plan in place that we follow for the football club. Because I think certainly for the last 3 years, but probably a bit longer, we've just been throwing a dice open to get a 6, and it's been far from it.
Yeah, no, that's excellent summation, but probably the operative word in that whole monologue you've just given me there is critical. That's the word what jumps out at me. It is indeed critical. If that's going to happen, and this is it's a quantum leap. It's a shift, a whole shift in a universal shift as regards our football club. New owner, new stadium, new money, new thinking, new plan. So if that's going to be the case, well, I welcome all of those things because all of those things, what we've done previously, even though we thought this was the case with Usmanov and Mashiri, was, the billionaires, well, they must be really clever. Well, I ain't saying it's not about intelligence, but as regards running a football club in this country, they forgot the seminal lesson is that points win prizes here. It's about winning points in the Premier League. Everything else is gravy. If you do not do that on a regular basis, you will have problems. And what they did was they took the previous regime's tactic of deflect onto Everton in the community and deflect, and they've been given another opportunity to deflect onto the new ground. And that is tantamount to abdication of responsibility. That's what it's hiding behind it.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was literally, don't look at this hand because this hand's robbing your pocket kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was so obvious.
Sleight of hand.
Bad tactics, bad.
And the person who was hiding behind it wasn't the one doing the work, either, as we know.
But you can predict it. I know that bus, that away bus, we get wellied away from home, miles and miles, so you got hours to get home.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And someone in the course of the evening or afternoon or morning, whatever time the kick-off is, will say, never mind today, 2-1, tomorrow morning there's a post about Bramley Moor, or there's a post about Everton in the community, again, deflecting. So it's that bad that we can predict it in advance. All of that's got to go. We need some acceptability, responsibility. If the Friedkins make a mistake, I would wish that they say, do you know what? We misread that. We're going to do it. They've done it at Roma. They appointed managers, giving them 9, 8, 10 games and said, no, sorry, wrong. Handbrake on, change of plan. I like that. I like that. I'd rather that than sitting here for 3 years avoiding relegation by the skin of our teeth. That's got to go. So I don't know them. I don't know much about them. But right now, it's as a life jacket. It's a rubber ring when we're drowning. So I'm looking at them, I don't know about as a saviour, but as a source of optimism. And because once they've gotten down the road, and they have gotten down the road with it, this due diligence process, they've been paying attention to what's been going on here. So as an observer who's looking to invest, you'd say, what are you doing? You need that, and that to start with. Never mind all the other problems behind the scenes. Let's deal with this. When everybody else is doing it, isn't it not the bleeding obvious? Isn't that screaming at you every Monday when you go back into training and back into Finch Farm, where you're all residents in the same building, to say, nah, honest to God, nah. And it hasn't been.
No.
Or even if it has, nothing's been done about it. So I'm hoping that these people are going to say, sorry, boys, it's a total reset, honestly, because that's what's required.
We'll get back onto that now. First and foremost, though, obviously the derby was called off at the weekend, but I just want to say Everton donated to the food bank, or Sodexo donated. I know you're a big advocate of the food bank. You help out with you work with them, don't you? So, I mean, that was good to see that that people have got a boost from something that is obviously
absolutely. And I support the club. I laud the club for that decision. But the food bank I work with is fan support and food banks. And it's both Everton and Liverpool. And we need to be seen. This is for our own. This is not given anywhere else. This is to focus on problems. On Thursday, I will be serving at a food bank in the Iceland car park on Walton Road. So you can't get more local to the football club.
Exactly.
So, and there's food banks all over this city. It's absolute. Far be it from me to blow smoke up Kelly's backside, by the way, but Dave Kelly, Robbie Daniels and Ian Byrne specifically, there's other people involved, but those three, Colin Harvey is the patron, incidentally. I haven't got there myself and been involved myself in the day-to-day kind of the machinations of how the logistics of how this stuff works. It's incredible. You've got to raise your hat to it as a concept. But again, the logistics of it are really difficult.
You shouldn't need to, by the way.
You shouldn't need to, but that's a bigger political query. We do, so let's put the fire out in the house before we start talking about whether we should move to a bigger house. It's absolutely incredible. So back to the club's decision, the best thing about it was it was within half an hour of calling the game off. They did not waste time.
No.
They were on the phone. And I know for a fact where those wheres would have been redirected to immediately. So fundamentally, it was one of the best decisions. And I am personally involved. So let's put that to one side. It's not about that I am doing this with these people. I'm talking about if I was removed from it, and I'm just observing it. Absolutely magnificent. And talking about the food bank, since we're on the subject, and save me going back at the end, because of that derby getting called off, fan support and food banks, because of the location next to the fan zone, we have an opportunity 19 times a season without cup games, where 40,000 people, give or take, are in the same place at the same time. And many of them think like us. So what they do is they come and they give, some people give bags, some people give one item. Everybody's welcome. Everything is welcome. So because that game is called off and we're right before Christmas, that's a body blow. That's an absolute bottom. They won't say it. No one's going to say it. No. Because it's generosity and charity, fundamentally. So no one's going to say that. I'm going to say it though. And basically, that then puts the onus on Chelsea, which is literally 3 days before Christmas. And these will still be doing this. So what I'm saying is, if you've got the opportunity, anything, tin goods, sanitary ware, soap, toothpaste, anything at all, non-perishables, anything you can spare, because it's hard for everybody. Please don't think that I'm not recognising that fact. I do get it. Anything you can do to help, please call into the fan zone, the fan support and food banks van, and it'll be a collection for Chelsea, and that'll be marvellous. Thank you very much for letting me say it.
So well done, Everton Football Club, as well, for acting
Thank you very
quickly,
much.
and people will have benefited from it. Back to the game and this next little spell. I mean, obviously, we were just talking about the Friedkins there, and what you're saying is they need to come in and sort of hit the ground running. There's a transfer window in January, opening. Everton are short. They're short on certainly a left back.
There's more.
Sure. No, what I'm saying, you can't. You're not going to.
No, it's cherry picking.
They need a left back, a centre midfield player, and a right winger. That's what they need in this window. Who knows what they'll do? The plans are there for at least 2 players. Yeah. And that's what they need. The tricky thing, I guess, and I guess this is where Kevin Thelwell comes in, is if you're buying for this manager. I know Everton are looking at replacing the manager, the Friedkin group rumoured to be looking at replacing the manager, and that may well happen in the next few weeks, whatever. But the football club have got to start thinking about what benefits the team. But the issue is, the manager doesn't always play what the football club think. So how do we best approach this window with that being the situation? Do you think?
First of all, that system, that buying players for specific managers, has that really worked out for us in the past decade, shall we say? Not really.
Not at all, has it?
So therefore, back to your previous point, caveat, to your previous point about you think a left back, a right winger and a midfielder. I would say we need pace. First of all,
the right wing is the pace.
So I don't care about where. We need pace.
Outball.
That's an absence of which is absolutely, oh my God, you should be fired for the fact that you've been doing this job and you go into season after season after season without having any at all. So I'm not going to give it on individuals, but if you don't see that pace and power in this league are the currency for every single team. Thanks for coming. Here's your P45. It's been emotional. Thanks for that. Great. Honest to God. So back to that manager thing, we should be buying players which fit a system which we already had in place for 2 managers before this one. And then, so therefore, that will bleed into the fact that when you choose managers, you've already got this frame in mind, this picture in your head and on paper of what you're going to do anyway. So when he sits down and he gives you his CV and his spiel and all of that, you say, yeah, that's all great, fantastic, but what about this? Can you do this? Because this is where we, as the owners and funders of this whole enterprise, that's what we're looking to do. Can you bring that to the table? If not, thanks for coming. There's a fella in there, tell him to come in when you walk outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
So therefore...
But we haven't done that, Dave.
We haven't.
Even choosing Sean Dyche, we had Bielsa or Dyche at the opposite end of the scale.
Just insane.
Before that, we had...
That is insane.
You know, Frank Lampard replaced Rafa Benitez. When we chose Benitez, we had Graham Potter, Nuno Espirito Santo, or Rafa Benitez. It's like none of them have do you know what I mean?
But also, that, like, how'd you get that particular choice, that was about an outsider in the form of Usmanov getting hold of an idea what was by that time 10 years old.
Yeah, it was.
And saying, okay, so we're going to flip back. It's, I suppose I can see his thinking, but in this modern world we live in, it's, honest to God, it's a lot of diminishing returns, to be honest with you, especially in this game, because you don't see other countries, be it at a national or at a club level, who do that and obtain even short-term success, because the world moves forward, and that's why we're still not, the internal combustion engine kind of thing. That was great in the Industrial Revolution. But then we got computers kind of thing and iPhones. It's just the way it works. So if your thinking doesn't catch up with the game, as in the case of Usmanov and Mashiri, you will be moved along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Doesn't matter how much money you've got, or managers, or players. If you are not willing to embrace, never mind the present, but the future, conceptually, and say, I'm open to change, I'm open to learning. That's another thing. We don't learn ever. And I'm not talking just about the squad. I'm talking about the football club. The same mistakes, the same PR gaps, the same... Oh, my God, it's just... It wears me out. It's so tiring. And I go with people who spend literally their lives doing this. That's what they do with the time. And we were working out the other week. I spend more time with these people every year because of the away game thing and the hours for travelling in a close proximate space with these people than I do with my own family. And they're the same. So it's counterintuitive. Believe me, I already know that. But once you've done that, it becomes then, well, if they're not going to solve it, well, we're going to have to try. And then do things like this. And you don't really care what I say, but I need to say it anyway, because it's apparently no one else is thinking it. So back to the Friedkins, and when they come in, I genuinely can't see them. They might make mistakes, but I would expect them to be different mistakes. I can't see them doing this sort of thing for any extended period into the future. I can't see it happening, because their MO would suggest that's not likely, because he'll fire everybody in the building first, because that's what he does. So, okay, I hope that answered the question.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously we can see it. You wonder why the club can't see it. You wonder why. And again, I've said this to people who've been in and around the club about the pace. Think, how can you not have addressed someone very close to the whole thing? How could you not have addressed the pace situation? we nearly had this player. Yeah, but well, money. Well, no, because you can spend a little bit of money and get someone who's
you spent money anyway and never got
money
it.
Was spent. Yeah. So it's the same thing of when you've got Sirao Garassi, who's 6'4", going on strike to come to Everton for 11.5 million, and then you spend the 11 million on Neil Maupay, and you go 6'4" and can knock people about. And the other one's 5'8" and isn't very good. Also,
Trossard was in the same Brighton team as Maupay was, and you chose Maupay. So I'm just saying, it's like
there's loads of there's you can go and get. Everton could have addressed the pace thing. They mightn't have got top quality because it costs money, but you go and take a chance on someone who's actually, like the next best thing.
Now that you just said that out loud, I've never really considered that before, but it speaks back to your previous point about buying players for specific managers. Well, we've got an actual director of football who, by definition, will outlive the managers because it's not his position's not really specifically linked to league placing and goals scored and goals. He's here to oversee the whole thing. He's not hands-on. So that would suggest that he overrides any... we're taking Maupay as a case in point. It's not about Maupay, by the way. No. This is a consistent error we've made over many extended years. So that's the problem. It's that sooner or later, the hierarchy, the chain of command, you need to sit these people down and say, yeah, great idea, but we've got no pace.
Yeah.
No, but I like him because he does this job for this. But we've got no pace. So that means in transition going forward, we can't lose the ball because as soon as we step over the halfway line with 6 players, they're going to run straight past us with 4 against 2 and they're going to put it in the corner. That's what happens every year. Or alternatively, we're in our own area, on the edge of the area, with 8 players, we launch a ball to Calvert-Lewin and he's got 75 players marking him at the time and we can't get up there. Tell me you don't see the problem, please.
It's crazy because even this way of... This is what's wound me up, I think, the most about Sean Dyche, is that having a situation when we spoke when you were in a couple of weeks ago about he started off trying to be a bit more expansive, lost some games and that was it. It was everyone behind the ball now. Yeah. But everyone behind the ball doesn't work. Hence, we've won 3 games of football. Doesn't work. You've got to be able to commit. No one breaks on anyone with 5 players. Nobody. Don't care how good they are. They don't. Liverpool, the best at it. They break with 3. So therefore, if you've got 4 defenders back, you're never getting overrun. We have 7. So when we throw a cross in, McNeil just tosses it in unless it's a free kick. Or whoever, Michalenko, just decides to throw it in. The pass has got to be outrageously good for Calvert-Lewin or Beto to get a header on it because you've got one man being marked by 2 or 3 players. Yeah. If it misses Dom because he takes them with him, our wingers are 15 yards back because they can hear the fella on the side going, get back. So essentially, you one crosser, 1 person in the box against 4. That's why Dominic... Listen, we can discuss all day whether Dom's good enough or he isn't. Personally, think he is. We don't give him the thing, but hey-ho, there's better out there, of course there's. But you've got to put some ball in to 100%. Pick him out.
100%.
Whereas if you commit, and this is what Brentford are very good at, with much lower, in my opinion, lower quality of player that they've had, they've still been... I love Bumo and Wisser are great. Yeah, but what Brentford do is they flood the box. So when balls go in, there's a lot in there going on, and defenders are getting flicks, hence how you score goals.
But then, to do that, you need legs. Conceptually, yes, but even with the best will in the world, that will be unsuccessful 45% of the time. So when that happens and you burnt on 3, maybe 4 players, you lose the ball, the cross goes to, or the defender wins the header. Now they turn round and look to break on you because there's 4 of them. We have got an inability to get back in time. The idea then is the midfield, and I like the 3, by the way, Mangala in a 3 against Wolves. Yeah. That was far more solid. They weren't running through us. No. they're not having the greatest time, Wolves, but they're not a bad side. If you look back to Boxing Day, they pulled our pants down over there, by the way. So
it's be full and 4-1 the other week.
So what we do then is, because these players are the wrong side of the ball, the idea now is your centre midfielders don't necessarily even have to win the tackle. It's not Peter Reid and Bracewell. What they have to do is block the space.
Of course they do.
And therefore slow the momentum in order that these people can get back the right side of the ball and you can get 2 banks of 4 going.
You go and look at the stats, though, because I have done a lot on this. I just said, no one springs with more than 4 players.
Yeah.
Nobody. So if you even went man for man, you're not getting done unless you're throwing silly lunges in.
So that speaks to...
Therefore, you could have all your defenders back and a holder. You still outnumber them because most teams will leave 2 up or 1 up and your wide players. If you're getting done 4v5 and you still get done, there's a huge problem. Right? There's a huge problem, and that comes down to the manager and picking personnel. That still should allow you to commit 5 players. Everton never commit 5 players forward. No. Just go and watch it. The reason we beat Wolves 4-0, we scored 3 set pieces and had another set piece disallowed. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's that kind of thing, and that's, for me, has been the issue, is that if you listen to other managers talk about how you play the game, you said something before and it was brilliant, and it was about, I think you were talking about owners. It applies to managers. The game moves so quickly. It's moved away from Sean Dyche's type football. It's why there's people like Pulis and Allardyce and things.
You're on that whole point, actually, it's relevant to what you've just been saying. No, that Gaffer's Day thing, put that in the bin for us.
Because you never win games in August.
It's absolute crap. It's like you've invented a new way of doing stuff. We get more injuries than anybody else who doesn't do Gaffer's Day. They're not fitter.
No.
So the assumption would be
5 games in August in his career.
Presumption would be, well, Gaffer's Day is like a boot camp. That's what that is. That's back to Blundell Sand.
Formby and all that.
Up the thingies.
Up the
Forget about it, lad, because the game's moved on. And so what it is, it's that, and we get it. The club tweet about this stuff. No. Gaffer's Day, man. Stop with that, lad. For us, will you? Because you're embarrassing us all. Will you please? And he has to embrace that this is not him playing for Millwall here.
No.
Forget about it.
Done,
Forget about that. Look at watch Match of the Day or Sky or wherever. Watch the other teams in this league, like,
what they're
when they're not playing us. Watch them, what they do. So leave that alone. Put it in the bin for us. And because what's happened is, like you just said, time has overtaken it. The whole thing.
That's it, and that's what I'm saying. It's not even like a thing about whether you like Sean Dyche or you don't like Sean Dyche.
It's not about Sean Dyche.
It's nothing to do with that. What it's about is managers now in football, the way it's changing, you've got a shelf life with what you do. Guardiola, people are now questioning the greatest manager ever, like the way he's done stuff, and he's changed football 3 different eras. But people are looking at him now going, I'm not sure his football works anymore. Now, it will if he gets the top players. But people are still questioning it because it moves. I remember when he had the Barcelona side, and some people will say it's the greatest ever team, 08-12.
They weren't bad.
Real Madrid just invented a different way to play against it and went counter-attacking and pace and power, and it overrode it. They flipped it.
Physically,
and then you do exactly.
Midfield,
so you look and go, well, you've got lads who are great, who are 5'7", we're putting 6'3" lads who will knock them out the way.
Who aren't bad themselves.
Who aren't bad at. And you always have to do it. I always use the analogy with snooker because my dad, dad's good snooker player and loved it and all that. And I've always had this conversation with him about how come snooker changed so much from like defensive play was the king, like Sean Dyche, like that. It was the king.
It was.
Davis was incredible, won all sorts. Henry had a little bit of both, but he was great defensively. And Jimmy White was flamboyant.
And Alex Higgins wasn't.
And Higgins was a bit of a,
but Alex Higgins was probably the most skilled player.
He was natural, but you look,
still wasn't the king.
You look
Davis.
now, though. People like what's his name, the Welsh kid, the Welsh fellow who's been around for Mark. He's been world champion and all. He's a great player. Peter Ebdon is still like Sean Dyche. Peter Ebdon's still trying to put 9 men behind the ball. But all these kids who are coming through don't play safe. They're just all bang, 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 doing 90 breaks every time they go. And my dad was like, well, the game just moved. There's this attacking style. And these other people, because if you think about snooker, It's not physical, is it? It's not about running around quick. So theoretically, it should be here, which means you still should be able to win stuff at 65. But obviously, your eyes are going, and you might get a little bit of a wobbly hand. But the attacking players have overtaken it. So the whole ethos of that game has changed dramatically. So football has changed from.
That's what happens. It happens in life, by the way. That's why you take over in politics, for example. It's natural wastage. It's literally what happens in life. But particularly sport, once the media get involved, because there's people like, look at what we're doing right now, breaking down the minutiae of everything to do with it. You just mentioned the word stats and data in the previous conversation, what you just had. Yeah. That's not just you. It's ubiquitous.
Of course.
It's ubiquitous. Everyone's at it. There's an industry behind an industry these days. Also was absent even 15 years ago. So by definition, living in that world, which we all are, there's a greater requirement for you to improve. And if you do not improve...
Karen, thank you, Mark Williams. Yeah, carry on.
That's Mark Williams, exactly who it is, by the way. Yeah, I'm not really that up with Snoop.
No, but go on. Yeah.
But my point being, it's if you can't bring that to the table, that improvement year on year, decade on decade, or 5 years probably, because you get probably 3 of them in your career if you're good. So the evolution of your talent, but also your mindset and your thinking and your approach. If that doesn't happen, you will become a victim of those times. Not necessarily of your competitors. It might be that as well, but not necessarily. It will be in all walks of life. This is honestly, seriously. So, I mean, there's so many things. I would love to sit down with the Friedkins. I don't drink anymore, but I could have a coffee and say, I'm not even trying to go into what your mindset is, but I would ask this question. Do you understand how big this job is going to be? Because I don't know what kind of time scale you're applying here, and I know you bring significant funds to this. I'm not, that is not me denigrating anything on that side, but I am genuinely unsure whether you've even got a clue how bad this is, how long this is going to take. This is not Roman Abramovich's Chelsea, where you just wipe the board clean and start putting in different pieces, because there's FFP now. There's bodies which will regulate how you do stuff.
So that's how you have to do it differently. So what you do is you go and buy the there's young talent 100%. Everywhere, right? And if you're not prepared to play them, look at Jake O'Brien. Right, I don't know if Jake O'Brien's good enough. I've not seen him. He done all right at Lyon. He's okay. He's a big unit. Good squad player and all that. We were 4-0 up with 20 minutes to go last week, and he left Patterson and O'Brien on the bench. 4-0. When at Everton ever going to be 4-0 up in a game where the opposition...
2008 or something, one time.
Last time it happened was under Marco Silva. Man United 2019. Right? April 2019.
If you don't want me crying, don't say it.
What I mean is, just to keep your squad morale up, I'm 4-0 up at home against a team who have gone like that. Please just finish. Wolves just wanted to get off the pitch.
I don't blame them.
There was nothing. Pickford, in the first half, made a couple of key saves. Second half, he had nothing to do. Like, down your end, he was probably having jokes with you because he
wasn't joking with me. He was joking
you know
with
what
Kelly.
I mean? And yet, there was a chance there to keep morale up, get a couple of lads on to build their minutes and all that. And it's that kind of thing. For Everton to change, we need a coach, and we haven't got
back to O'Brien. See, that's part of the problem I've just discussed with you previously. O'Brien, we do not know whether he's good enough. We don't know what kind of footballer he's going to be for Everton, but he's a young kid, and there's certainly potential there. What I saw in pre-season, it was okay. It was acceptable. However, he was bought ostensibly in case Brandtwaite went in the last 2 weeks of the window. Then no, excuse me, then your owner should have said, that's not happening by July the 10th.
Of course.
If it's not on my desk, the bid and the money on my desk, forget about it. If you come in with double the money, you're still
getting. But we should have done this with Calvert-Lewin.
Well, we should have, would have, could have. That's the problem with what's been going on here. So this fella one of the things amongst the myriad of things what needs sorting here is that. So we've now gone and spent money we didn't really have on a player we didn't really need, just in case the player we really did need decided to leave. You tell me what makes sense in that whole double sentence I've just given you.
What else doesn't make sense? It's not using the lad, though. That really doesn't make sense.
I'll take that on board. But the bigger picture problem, if you're the Friedkins, would say, well, buy O'Brien when you want O'Brien, first of all. Sell Branthwaite or don't sell Branthwaite. Make a goddamn decision on that. And don't have the player at 21 years of age running this 140-year-old institution and his agents. Oh, my God.
We've got a right-back who's been at the football club 3 years next month.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's good enough.
I know that.
I've never walked out of Goodison Park or an away game where Patterson's been involved and gone.
I have. I thought he played well at Brentford last year.
No, but I've never walked out and gone, he's nowhere near good enough.
Oh,
he's
no,
been
I haven't said that. No,
do you know what I mean?
No, I haven't.
I might look and go,
there's been games where he's been found out, but then and the injuries haven't helped.
Seen Branthwaite get found out at City last year.
And, by the way, he was all right the other night, but since he's been back, and West Ham, he wasn't great either.
No. So, but what I mean is, with Patterson is, and people have made snap decisions that he's not good, or not. Okay, I beg to differ, but there you go. But he won't be good enough if you keep leaving him on the bench and keep pissing him off and not using an asset. And I think for Everton, with it, no matter what, for us to move forward as a football club and a team, we've got to embrace our younger players, and we've got to see whether, because we might have the answer in the building. We might have Patterson, who is good enough, and Roman Dixon, don't know if he is, who's his backup, who might replace him in a couple of years because he's good enough. Yeah. But not if we get a manager who goes, I'd rather play a 40-year-old at right back, I'm sorry, or a 35. Do you know what I mean? I'm just using them as an example. It doesn't. Ashley Young has been great, apart from United, for 6 weeks. He's done really well for 6 weeks. He really has. So I'm not having a go with Ashley Young. Me personally, I think he should replace Michalenko at the minute, because I think Michalenko's off it right now. And therefore, then you've got a decision to make it the right. But for Everton to move forward, that kind of thing does have to change, and it has to change quickly, because them younger players have to look and go, I'm going to get in here, I'm going to get my chance, and then I'm taking it. It can't be a close shot.
Everybody, Howard, I spoke to many times about many things, and we went through the whole, Neville is like my brother, so obviously I'm biased towards that side, full disclosure. He knew that, but that whole, if you see, we made Howard's way, he made a big deal, which was absolutely warranted, about Peter Reid and Andy Gray. In retrospect, probably the greatest sign Howard made for that side was Trevor Steven, because he was a baby,
he was brilliant,
and you could mould him, but he had all the fundamental requirements to be an absolutely top class footballer. He just wasn't one when we bought him. We put him in this environment with these experienced heads and this quality and this ability, fundamentally ubiquitous ability, all different sorts of ability around this squad. And he flourished. He bloomed. He was possibly, Bally aside, the most elegant Everton footballer I've ever seen in my life. And that was never, it didn't matter who we were playing, where we were playing. Didn't matter what the condition of the pitch was, what the weather was. He was absolutely magnificent. Well, that's testament to the theory, what you're saying there, about identify quality, invest in it, and then give it the chance to bloom. Absolutely. But what you've got to do is not do that piecemeal. You've got to you don't just stick one rose in your garden. Do you see what I mean? You've got to plant things so they prosper together, and they foster each other's talent and progression.
Developments,
Absolute development.
Well, what about this? What do you make of this? Because this annoys me as well, just while we're on it.
Yeah.
Everton won 48 points last season.
Yeah.
Nice. Obviously, the 8 points come off for the points deduction, whatever. But Everton won 48 points.
Yeah.
Forest would be below Everton. Brentford would be below Everton.
Yeah.
Nice. We if the 48 stays on, we finish above Brighton. Seems like that. We were above Fulham with the 48. Like, so we're above all of these teams.
We were.
And our manager went back to relegation. Now, he said the other week that winning the games at the end of the season was an anomaly.
Yeah.
Really, that's what he sort of said. We finished higher than we probably should have done. Right?
Yeah.
So
Whereas 8 weeks before he was saying we'd be there if it wasn't for the points being taken off.
So what I didn't get with that was the likes of Thomas Frank, I'm sure, never said to Brentford, you're in a relegation battle on day one.
No, but that
Fulham,
narrative...
Mark O'Silva, never said. Forrest, never said.
That narrative is... You said before, I can't even remember if it was on camera or off camera, and you mentioned the term comfort blanket. Well, this is what they expect here, this is what they do here. That relegation narrative, that's his comfort blanket because, again, it's deflecting. In other words, it's not my fault. That's the sotto voce message here, the between the lines message. It's not my fault. If I only had this, we wouldn't be this. When in fact, this is your third season. So you should be at least, even with your arms tied behind your back, which you haven't had necessarily compared to other managers. You've been given what we had available. Nothing's changed. There's no style of play. You couldn't walk out of the ground with a vox pop and say, tell me what kind of football we play there. What we were talking about Wolves, Thomas Frank, even Fulham. You've just mentioned all of those clubs recently in the past couple of minutes. So I'm not trying to dig him out here, but he can't keep bringing this same narrative out and saying, oh, the relegation thing and it's the fans, they leave here. Well, no, mate. If you have a look at the Crystal Palace game, we were getting beat 2-0, 70 minutes. So if what you're saying is, see, that's on the reporter as well, to say, hang on a minute.
They don't.
They don't. They were on the pitch with flares. Mate, you could see from outer space. By the way, outer space, you could see it from. So no, what you're saying is you just, it's duck and cover. It's duck and cover, and I'm not buying it no more.
And the whole club have done that, and that's where the whole point of that conversation really for me is, because we've started with the Friedkins and this run. This is what we've got to move away from, because it's easier. I think John Blaine said this a few times. It's easier to change the perception than the reality to start with.
It's a really good point.
And I think Everton do have to change the perception. So when the Friedkins come in next week, we have got to change the perception of, look, that we don't do that now. You've had a couple of years, and the reality of it is a real genuine relegation battle. Everton have had 3 in 30 years or something, or whatever it is, right? That's the reality.
All under this tenure.
That's the reality of it, right? Last year he got 48 points. He'd have finished 10th. Wasn't a relegation battle. We were safe on April the 6th when we beat Burnley 1-0. The reality, we won other games after it. We won another 4 or something after it, but we were safe. Luton didn't
know that then.
No, we didn't, but Luton never got to that day. Right, so Everton was safe then. We weren't in the relegation battle, blah, right? And points deductions put us in. It was nothing the team done. Points, and Sean Dyche, points deductions put them in there. Not winning a game for 4 months helps, of course.
Luton beating us.
But now we have to move. Now, this has to change. This can't still be, this happened, that happened 2 years ago, it's been happening for 5 years, but you've been here for 2. Can't say it's been happening for 5, you've been here for 2. You've got a tenure that's longer than the average Premier League manager by some months now. So you should have been able to flip something. Amaran's talking about it now at United. It'll take me time, but you'll know. My team, in a couple of weeks, you'll know. Mightn't get the results, but you'll know. Well, all I know about our team at the moment is we just kick it as long as it'll go to them.
No, but there's, again,
and we wait for the corner.
That development, that embryonic progression, where it's in stages, that's acceptable. I don't really think these people who sit by me in Goodison, I've been there for over 20 years with 80% of them. So they're not the type of people who are jumping up and down saying sack him every 15 minutes. But it becomes turgid in the end. And it what you just said then about accepting it. We're our own worst enemy, but we were sold that from the previous regime.
Of course we were,
This regime and the one previous to that, we were sold that. Neville called it out and got blackballed and got sent to Coventry, by the way, because of it. And that is history, I imagine, will not look well upon us as a fan base. Our demographic, our age group when they look back and say, why did you accept that for so long? You're Everton Football Club, by the way. And when you went into it, it wasn't where Man City have come up and Chelsea have come up. This was predating that. And you accepted it anyway.
Yeah.
So
Loads of people say it now.
You were complicit. Yeah. Not in a great extent, but you yourselves were complicit in the acceptance.
Loads of people have said that, fans of other teams. Why do you?
Yeah.
Why? What's going on? How are you allowing this to happen? How are you allowing your football team to play the way it is?
Retrospective 2020 vision is all well and good, but the actual question is, how do we change it? And that was the point you were making about the Friedkins. Well, all of those things are relevant when they appoint this CEO you have just suggested and board members, etc., and people with a specific role in a specific hierarchy within this new vision of a football club. That's what I'm looking for most.
Yeah.
After that, because it's incremental, it's not going to be, because of the restrictions, the financial and governmental, which will be soon implemented, there will be no quantum leap. But what you want is, like you said, what Annalym said, you will see it soon. So, okay, lots of little statements going towards a greater goal. That's acceptable. Now, from then, the transfer window, like you said, there's holes all over our team. There's nowhere really where you couldn't say we need at least backup in that position.
Or better. Yeah.
Or better. Most of it's better, but at least back up in that position. So everything's open. Everything's on the table for that. Then, once we get out of January, we are about to make the most significant move in the history of this football club, given that where we are, the financial state of the game in England and Great Britain, in a contemporary sense. Therefore, losing our status as a Premier League football club is, honest to God, it's got to be put in the bin immediately, with in full effect right now. So that's the third thing I want, and all of these, those three things I've just mentioned to you, will be before May, and will have to happen before May. Well, we're halfway through December nearly.
Yeah.
So this is where we are.
Yeah.
It's immediacy. Someone needs to come in and say, right, this, and this. And we know there's a million other things, but these, right now, put the fire out, and then we'll talk about the rest later. Okay. So after that, I'll come in again and say, what do we need to do from going down there? But there's real peril still prevalent in our situation across the board right now, this year, in this league. Yeah. And it terrifies me, actually.
Things can change quickly, though, if you're getting on the right path, not the end result. But we saw that with, like, in Newcastle, they brought 3 players and people were going, and they finished fourth, not suggesting Everton would do that, but can get you up. Villa had a good squad, but they did have a quick change. You can move. Yeah. But you need a vision. You need people to buy into it. The fans will be key with it, whoever the next appointment of a manager is.
True.
The messaging has got to be correct, especially if it's someone who people are like, not sure, you know, if it was a Graham Potter or if it was a Eden Terzic or if it was whoever, the fans would have to, the messaging's got to be right. We've got to get behind it. We've got to give people a chance. We're trying to do things differently. All of that's key, because we are key. We're absolutely key.
Yeah.
Without us, the club would die. We'd have gone down without the fans.
Yeah.
Or certainly we'd have been close to it. The fans made a huge difference, and therefore we can change the direction of the football club. Everyone's got to pull the same way. Terry Mack says, all the best, Dave. Hope to get over in the new year with our kid and do a catch up. Depends on the meds, but I've promised to make an effort.
Definitely.
Nathan, who was in last week from Australia, says, hello guys and David. The next set of games look very tough, as we all know. Getting some draws or a big 3 points would be great. I think we're all crossing our fingers for coming out not disappointed with no points. James, great to see Dave on again. In the blue, nice to see Dave back. Brilliant and honest opinions. Glenn says, could you ask Dave about the Patterson versus Dyche saga? Is there ever a situation where someone deserves a good slap in the workplace?
No.
No.
It's illegal, for the start. So no.
I suggest most.
Peter says unless you're a wrestler.
Possibly, yeah. I think in most cases you'd be.
Isn't that anyway?
You'd be sacked, wouldn't you?
It was my own fault for engaging. I should have just left it there. You know that, you know that. That's on me.
Yeah, Sog says put the number for the food bank in the comments. I've loads of tin food to donate. It's stocked up ahead of Brexit just in case now my cupboards are too full to add to. Do they have a number?
Not really.
No. You just need to.
Yeah, they've got a Twitter.
They've got a Twitter. Sog, so put it in.
Food banks.
Steve P says, no way can we have Deitch and we can't allow him to have any sort of input in January. We know for a fact the players have turned us down because he's the manager. I don't blame them in the slightest. If you're a young winger or striker, you're never coming here under him. Go and play for a team that attacks. Bill Cummins says, love Dave. Says, you hold the standard of NSNO. The club hasn't had for decades. Needs change. Nathan says, Dom showed how good he can be when he's put in a system that allows balls and players in the box around him. That's why he looks so bad at the moment. He's all alone. And Jonathan says, Baz Wolves apparently in talks with Roger Schmidt. Roger Schmidt's very good. Could be good if he goes there. You never know, but again, who knows? Yeah. What are you thinking then going into these? The next three are obviously really difficult. Then Forest, which, like you've just said, is also really difficult. They've just gone and won. They've won at Anfield already this season. They've won at Old Trafford.
When I looked at these fixtures, like we were just discussing off camera before the show, I did indeed look at Wolves and Forest, but I also looked at Bournemouth away, which is the next game after that, which I identified as, I wouldn't necessarily say to win because our record there is chronic, but and most of the time we throw the game away. Haven't been in a decent position last year, previous years before that, but they just beat. I mean, they've got a decent record. So what you don't want is we can justify to a certain extent. Please take that in context. Don't be in the comments saying that he down to us, because that's not the case. We can justify these next three games as being the opposition outclasses us. So you've got to keep in mind the goal difference aspect of this. So defeat, probably, almost certainly, actually. But what you don't want then is prolonging that into the new year. We've been given a home tie in the FA Cup. So if we win, we get a draw against Forest, lose at Bournemouth, and then beat Peterborough. Now, we're going back to Peterborough's victory, the Wolves victory, and how many games before that to get 3 victories consecutively or 3 victories. That's not acceptable. No. So what you've got to do then, and the other aspect is, hopefully, please Lord, by then the Friedkins are in. So they're going to want to identify games, say Palace away, they changed the date of it yesterday. That just jumped into my mind. Please tell me that you're looking at that, because it's not going to be the games against Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool and Arsenal what keep you in this league. That's not going to be those games. That'd be wonderful, by the way. It's going to be against your competitors,
if
because
we
they're
get to
effectively
Bournemouth
6 pointers.
And we haven't won, we'll have played half a season, won 3 games.
Yeah,
and I'm at the age I am, and I've never ever seen that in my life.
It's not acceptable.
Ever.
But also, it also speaks to the fact that we've thrown away this season 2 2-0 leads. One of them at a ground where our record's even worse than it is at Bournemouth, Aston Villa. And at a decent side, and they were just flying. They were in the Champions League, and we could not manage. The final goal, that Duran goal, was an absolute worldie. No problem with it at all. But the Addison thing, passing, coming right on the back of Garner Gay, doing precisely the same thing against Brighton. It's sandwiched in between Tottenham, where we basically done the same thing. We go to Man United, and both of our centre-halves give them a goal each. It's like, boys, there's a culpability element. I don't know whether it's switching off. I don't know what it is. But those things, that's the tightening up, the small margins. You could eliminate them. So now, if it would have only been 2 points, probably. It wouldn't have been a victory and a point. It probably would have only been 2 points, given that Duran, no one's saving that. It's an absolute worldie. So I've got no problem with that. But it's about the confidence and the mindset, and what you were talking about Calvert-Lewin before, about how the one thing consistently losing battles then bleeds into his mindset in front of goal, because that's actually what he's here for. That's just another part of his job. But the primary focus for the centre forward is putting the ball in the back of the net. You know this is a fact. Well, take that element of it and then back to our team. The game management. This fella, as a manager, was supposed to be, it was sold to me at the start of it. He knows what you know, that knife fight analogy thing, the way he's at the bottom of the league. He knows how to grapple and how to struggle and how to get out of tight situations. Well, that hasn't been obvious, has it? No. It hasn't been evident at all. So the game management aspect, I'm throwing it back now to Bournemouth and forward from that. I want to see a marked improvement in that. I want to see us go there with a plan, and if plan A doesn't work, I want to see plan B and potentially even plan C, because by then, hopefully, you've got Calvert-Lewin, Beto, Broja and committee all either on the pitch or on the bench.
Yeah.
So I need to start seeing that, please. Evidence of that. And like any decent boxer, if you were training any decent boxer, listen, everyone can lose in this game. That's what we're in. So at least if you lose, go down swinging. Let them respect you, because they might not be sitting on top of you. Back to the football analogy again.
Yeah.
If they're thinking that you're looking to get over the other side of them, and so I need to see it manifest more. To the people in the ground and watching on TV. I need to see that more. I don't care who's in charge, actually. I just need to see that from the club.
That's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't just keep sort of making excuses either, and people do, and I understand.
And being so predictable as well.
Just doing the same thing all the time, but I think when I see some bang average teams who are in the top 6, 7, 8, I look and go, wouldn't actually take much to have us mid-table comfortably.
No.
And then you buy the ones that you need to take the next step. But power and pace is the big thing. And Everton have just got none of it, and I just can't for the life of me, when you go shopping, how you can't go, well, we need the power and pace.
But it's not just that. Yeah, 100%, agree with every word. But this isn't just not even under Dyche, not even under Mashiri. This has been a problem since Lukaku walked out the door, by the way. We got away with Barry, buying Gareth Barry. I remember people saying, oh, he's a great player, but he's 34 or whatever he was at the time. His legs won't handle it in this thing. Well, he did the old Dalglish thing where the first 5 yards were in his head, and he was absolutely mustard. But what you could get away with it in that team, because Lukaku's pace could drive you down the pitch in 4 seconds flat. Well, we haven't had that. We literally haven't. We've had Rondon, we've had Tosin, we've had. It's kind of, it's the antithesis of that. We're seeing that sports car and then saying, I know, I'll get a VW bus or something. That's what I'm going to go for. It's not the modus operandi we apply to the transfer window. It's higgledy-piggledy. It's not. There doesn't seem to be any format to it, any plan to it, and saying, this is the type we want. So if they fit that criteria, we will consider them for purchase. No, not that at all. It's if we can get you on a 5-year non-immediate payment deal, and then see what kind of football you are when you turn up there. Not good.
Yeah, no, that seems to be exactly what it's done. David Murphy on the Super Chat says, afternoon fellas, despise this defeat mentality from Sean Dyche.
Yeah, man.
Listen, again, managers improve players. The whole thing is, you look at, this is why managers lose the job, because it's hard to sack 25 millionaires.
It is.
But it's easy to sack 2 or 3 people. That's their job, essentially. It could be anyone. This is Gary O'Neill right now. You know, Roger Schmidt talking to Wolves. This is Gary O'Neill right now. Right? Your job as a coach is to, A, get results, and B, improve footballers. It's that simple. You're on the training ground with them every day. Something last week the manager said, which just blew my mind, was he openly sort of said our players aren't good enough. And I've never ever heard that in my life from a professional. They talked about Goodison, giving Goodison a send-off at the stadium doesn't make these good players. If I'm a player, I'm thinking, are you
Isn't that deflecting again, though?
But I know it is. But what I mean is, even if he thinks these players aren't good enough,
don't say
you
it.
Don't say it to the press. You don't say, "Well, your players here." You've got to. You've got to. No, of course, he's not. Listen, this fella's far from stupid.
He doesn't.
Everything he says, like when he leaves stuff hanging about the fans, and then he'll go, "I didn't say the fans weren't very good." You go, "You made this comment. Well, I could have meant that." He leaves it dangling, so you know what he's doing. It's a form of gaslighting, isn't it?
It is gaslighting,
and that's what happens, and you hear it. But anyway, that's by the by. The Friedkins come in next week, and then that's when things have to change. We go to Arsenal, whatever. But they will look at it. They will look and go, 3 wins in 17. If that's what it is, you're gone, because they give a fella 8 games and he got rid of them, and he won 4 of them, or 3 of them, or whatever it was. So that's the change will come.
One of the fellas they got rid of was Daniele Di Rossi, who's like
a hero.
Dixie Dean over there, kind of thing.
It's only Toffee above him. Yeah. So it is mad. It is mad, isn't it? But we'll see. Anyway, that's by the by. We've got a. What do you think then this Sunday? Obviously, it's Saturday. Big game. They're a good side. Our record at the Emirates is terrible.
It's gruesome, but actually, I'm not trying to delude anyone, please believe me. However, I went to that last game of the season, and ostensibly, unlikely, but ostensibly, they still had a chance to win the league. So basically, they're a good side, like you just said. They're at home, 60,000 in the ground. The loudest I've ever heard that ground, by the way. Because it's not notoriously loud ground, in my opinion. But that day, it was. Everything was there for them. And we gave them a game. Actually, we threw it away in the last 5 or 10 minutes. We identified the fact that they were thirsty. So the very fact that they were thirsty, and it's similar to where they are now, they drop points to looking to gain things, and they look at us as lightweights, as being out of our class. That might actually help us here. But to do that, we've got to throw some digs. We've got to be able to... At least Broja, but committee played for the under-21s the other day. Have them both on the bench. Even if you don't bring them on, have them warming up like what the other side do to us, to put it in the mind of your centre-backs. That's a tactic. It's a legitimate tactic. Do that, and then bring at least one of them on, and don't just do like-for-like replacements. Play 2. If we get beat by 2 goals instead of 1 goal, it doesn't matter. You're still getting beat.
You've had to go.
Have a go. And what that will do, it will bleed into the next run of games. So Forest will be watching that. And Bournemouth will be watching that. And it's about time we started saying, well, all of this other stuff, it hasn't worked. So let's just try. Maybe not. The chance of success is perhaps minimal. I'll give you that. But at least give it a go, because the other thing, what we keep returning to, that modus operandi, unsuccessful modus operandi, is finished. It's redundant, actually.
Right, last couple. Stuart says, can you imagine a procession from Goodison to Bramley Moor with ex-players carrying the trophies we've won and placing them in a new trophy cabinet? I bet some of them would be able to walk that far.
I know a couple of
Sog says, DM the Twitter handle as I only got to see comments made for a login. They don't refresh. Just keep trying, mate. We'll see if we can get hold of them. Few people defending a manager, which is fine. That is fine. I believe good coaches make players better. Sophie says Craig Pawson is the referee on Saturday, and he's awful.
He is?
Yeah, he is. He's not great. But listen, we'll see. We'll see. Tactics do matter. The Blues couldn't disagree more, honestly. That's one of the maddest things you've said, and you're normally quite sharp. That's a crazy thing.
It's a game of opinions, but I disagree. Yeah.
Well, that's why good coaches go and change. And you'll get managers come into a club and go, oh, these are good. Why Steven Gerrard had Aston Villa getting relegated, and Unai Emery took them up. So that's, to me,
case in point.
There's no further one to say than that. Dyche hasn't made anyone better, in my opinion. But again, that's a thing. I'm not saying he hasn't made players worse, but he hasn't. I wouldn't look and go, yeah, he's made him better. I don't think he has.
I think when he sat down at his interview, he would have projected to them, I will make them better. I will make them tighter. I will make them more savvy. I will make them more game aware. It hasn't really manifested, to be honest. Like, but it's all about opinions, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's go. We're going. We're done.
Can I just say?
Yeah, go on.
It is my granddaughter. It's her birthday today. She is 5. Coco Jean, my very best girl. I've already spoken to you this morning, but you said to me that because I'm on the telly and Gabby's wardrobe is also on the telly, that me and Gabby's wardrobe should be mates. Well, let's see if we can be mates. I don't know. But Gabby's wardrobe, if you're watching, my granddaughter would very much like to be your friend. So, okay. So, happy birthday, granddaughter. I love you very much. Mwah. Love you, baby. Up the Toffies.
There you go. Nice. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday. Right. Take it easy, Coco. Bye. Yeah. Right. We're going.
Okay.
We'll be on more than a game in 10 minutes or so discussing.
Peace out, Toffies.
See you later. Bye.